Daily learning.
Every morning when I wake up and look at my face in the mirror, I sometimes see the things I do not like about myself. And they remind me of the insecurities I have carried for many years because they have been a part of me for so long that I almost forget when they first began. I notice small things like the shape of my body or the way my skin is not as smooth as I wish it could be, and I remember how I used to believe that if I could change these things, I would be happier. I start my day with these thoughts sometimes, and they can make my mood feel heavier, but I also remind myself that this is exactly why I am learning to accept my insecurities one day at a time. After breakfast in the morning, I often scroll through my phone and see pictures of people who look more beautiful, more stylish, or more successful than I feel at that moment. This comparison can make me feel smaller inside, as if I am not good enough in many ways. I see friends with perfect smiles or celebrities with bodies that seem flawless, and I compare them to myself without even realizing I am doing it. When I notice this, I feel a mix of sadness and frustration because I know it is not healthy, yet it happens so naturally. This is one of the challenges I face every day, and it is part of my journey of learning how to stop measuring my worth through the lives of others. In the late morning when I am doing my work or studying, I sometimes remember moments in the past when someone made a comment about how I look or how I speak. And even though they might not have meant to hurt me, their words stayed in my mind for years. I think about how I used to avoid speaking in front of many people because I felt insecure about my voice or my accent, and I used to sit in the back of a room so no one would notice me too much. These habits came from my insecurity, and they stopped me from enjoying experiences that could have made me grow. Then, during lunchtime in the middle of the day, I often think about how my insecurity is not only about my appearance but also about my abilities. I remember comparing my work to the work of others and feeling like mine was always less creative or less perfect. This feeling has sometimes made me delay starting something new because I was afraid that it would not be as good as someone else's result. I realize now that these thoughts have stolen many opportunities from me because I was too busy doubting myself instead of trying and learning. In the afternoon, when the sun is softer, I sometimes look back at my younger self and see how much time I wasted thinking I was not enough. I think about all the days I avoided wearing certain clothes because I thought they would make me look bigger or the times I stayed silent in a conversation because I worried that my opinion was not smart enough. I understand now that these insecurities have shaped how I act and how I see myself, but I am also starting to understand that I can slowly change the way I respond to them. Later, when the day feels calmer, I remind myself that everyone has something they wish they could change, and that even the people who seem confident can also feel insecure. I try to accept that my insecurities are part of being human. And instead of trying to erase them completely, I can learn how to live with them without letting them control me. This does not mean I have to love every single thing about myself immediately, but it means I can treat myself with more kindness instead of constant criticism. Then, in the early evening when the light outside begins to fade, I sometimes practice small steps of acceptance by focusing on the things I do like about myself. I think about my kindness to others, like my ability to listen, my sense of humor, and the way I can make my friends feel comfortable. These qualities are not always visible in a picture, but they are part of what makes me valuable. When I shift my focus from only looking at my flaws to also noticing my strengths, I start to feel lighter and more open to accepting myself. At night after dinner, when the house is quiet, I usually take a few minutes to reflect on the day and notice if I spent too much time comparing myself to others. If I did, I remind myself that comparison is not a fair way to measure worth because I am only seeing part of someone else's life and I do not know their full story. I also remind myself that no one is thinking about my flaws as much as I am, because most people are focused on their own lives. This thought helps me breathe easier before I go to bed. And on weekends, in the morning, I sometimes choose to spend time without social media because I know that too much scrolling makes my insecurity stronger. Instead, I spend time doing activities that make me feel proud, like finishing a book, cooking something new, or practicing a skill I really enjoy. These moments help me remember that I can feel good about myself when I focus on my own life rather than comparing it to others. Now I'm going to be honest to you. Every day from morning until night, I work on accepting my insecurity by noticing when it appears and choosing how I respond. Sometimes it still feels heavy, but I try to treat myself like I would treat a friend, with understanding and patience. I know that I cannot remove my insecurity overnight, but I can take small steps to live with it in a healthier way. Over time, as I continue this practice, I notice that I am less afraid to show myself in pictures or to speak my opinion in a group. I am also learning to appreciate the things that make me different, because they are part of what makes me unique. This slow change feels like progress, and it reminds me that acceptance is a journey, not a single moment. When I look back at the person I was a few years ago, I can see how much I have grown, because I am no longer hiding as much as I used to. And I am starting to see my value beyond the way I look or the achievements I have. I still have moments when my insecurity whispers in my mind, but I also have a stronger voice that tells me I am enough. I believe that accepting my insecurity is not about pretending it does not exist, but about understanding it and choosing not to let it define me. This is why every day from morning until night, I take time to notice my thoughts, challenge the ones that hurt me, and replace them with kinder ones. This daily effort helps me build a better relationship with myself, and I know that over time it will make me feel stronger inside. When I think about the future, I imagine myself living more freely without constantly worrying about how I look or how I compare to others. I know that this vision is possible because of the small moments of acceptance I practice every day. Each morning, each afternoon, and each night, I am learning to be at peace with who I am, and this is the greatest gift I can give myself. So, every day from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep, I remember that accepting my insecurity is a process. And even though it is not always easy, it is always worth the effort, because it allows me to live more fully and with more kindness toward myself.